side downwards until she was laid out flat. With the last of her strength, she pushed herself onto her side, rolling further into the road. Then gravity completed the manoeuvre onto her back, away from the trees at the verge. It didn't hurt. The good news, and the bad news, she supposed, was that all the pain had gone. All sense that her body had been torn in two had dissolved into the cool October air. If there was nothing else left, she could stare at the moon one last time. Complete dark. She wasn't within the boundaries of the city then. No light spilled to dampen the shine of the stars. Scotland's skies were like nothing else on earth. Zoe might not have travelled much, but she never underestimated the blinding beauty of her homeland, never tired of the landscapes and architecture that had birthed endless folklore and song. The stars had come out for her tonight. Perhaps they were doubled or trebled by the tears in her eyes, sparkling all the more through the brine, but it was a night sky to die for. She wasn't a bad girl, she thought. No point pretending anymore. I'm good, her lips mouthed, even if there was no sound left to escape them. Had there been enough blood in her muscles to have fueled the movement, she would have smiled too. Happier times. There had been some. Early days when her mother had doted on her father, before her brother had left home. A day when her father had pretended it was their 6-monthly trip to the dentist, only to take the family to a dog rescue centre. They had spent the afternoon cooing over every mutt before finding a scruffy little terrier forgotten in the last pen. They had called him Warrior, a sweet joke, although he had proved a fiercely faithful pet from that day on. Every day, Zoe wondered if she would tire of walking, feeding and grooming him, as she'd seen her friends grow bored of the neediness of animals they'd been given. Not so. Warrior had remained by her side from the age of 5 until she was 12. He had slept on her bed and quieted her crying when the big girl from over the road had bullied her every day for a month, until her father had a quiet word with the girl's parents. Warrior had let her carry him around the house like a doll when she was sad. He sat on the doormat of their house Monday to Friday at 3:30, waiting for Zoe to walk in from school. It had always astounded her that dogs could tell the time. And Warrior had pressed his furry muzzle into her face as she'd cried when her father's car had been hit by a vehicle containing a man with more alcohol in his bloodstream than anyone had a right to. There had been no trip to the hospital, no long farewell, only a police officer at the door, solemn of face and softly spoken. Her mother had evaporated in grief. 18 silent months later, her stepfather had arrived. A year later, her brother had celebrated his 16th birthday by signing up to join the army with their mother's consent. Zoe had hated her for it. She wondered if she would be able to find forgiveness with her last breath. But forgiveness required effort and concentration. It needed to be nourished by hope. There was none left where she was lying. Her brother's escape had been her entrapment. There was no barrier left between Zoe and her mother's new husband. The fists her brother had tolerated until he could leave were turned to her. Her mother, a shard of broken china, said and did nothing. Perhaps she didn't care. Perhaps she was only grateful the blows did not touch her. The bruises were limited in their geography. Zoe's face remained untouched until the school summer holidays came around, and then it was a free-for-all. The fear of prying teachers alleviated a while. Zoe had cried her tears into Warrior's warm fur and shivered into his skinny but comforting frame in her bedroom at night, until her stepfather had found the love she had for the hound too much joy for Zoe's life. He had declared himself allergic, and the dog food too expensive, in spite of their large house and his good income. Letting out the odd, badly faked sneeze, he had said that